Let's head over to the first game. Let's talk about UNLV is hosting Syracuse. UNLV, their win against Kansas isn't looking as strong as it was before. And the Mountain West has some good teams in the top half of that conference, but there's not a lot of teams that you're going to play against that if they're trying to build a resume to be a legitimate college football playoff team, this is one of those games that you got to win, you know? Even though it's a Power 5 team, Power 4 team, excuse me, you have to win this game. And metrically, UNLV, they're first of all, they're favored by 5 points. So that tells you that I think it opened at 4. So they're probably power rated as a better team than Syracuse. And I would agree with that, especially with Haj Malik Williams at quarterback that we saw last weekend. UNLV is a top 10 team in points per game scoring on offense. They're top 15 points, top 15 in points per game allowed defensively. And they've played some pretty decent offensive teams, I would say. They've looked nothing short of spectacular. And Syracuse, team that I thought was going to run the ball really effectively this year, has failed to do that. They're only averaging 3.5 yards per carry, 102 yards per game. And on the flip side of that, Kyle McCord has looked awesome, but an interception late in that Stanford game ended up kind of costing him that game. So Syracuse, after impressive win against Georgia Tech and impressive start to the season, drops one early to Stanford. I'm wondering if that's just, the lumps that you're going to take with your first year having a new head coach.
Yeah, I like you said, I've been surprised that they have not run the ball as well as they could have with LaQuint Allen, even Will Nixon, good complementary piece there as well. That's something I do think that has to change. However, UNLV is very good against the run. They do a great job of getting after opposing teams in that front seven. We saw Fresno State struggle. We saw a lot of other teams struggle. And if you can't run the ball, you're one-dimensional. It makes it a lot harder to move the football, even though you got a guy like Common Core actually playing pretty well. But like you said, there has been a couple turnovers in these games that have been a little bit concerning. And that happens so when you're throwing the ball 40 sometimes a game, right? Like Kyle McCord has done, which I don't think any of us saw. I guess it is what it is. Like you said, this is a must-win game, I think, for UNLV. And you're a home favorite, first of all, against Power Five school. And to backtrack a little bit, I love this idea of having Power Five, Power Four teams going on the road to G5. I think that's really fun. I think it makes the atmosphere fantastic. I think it tests these G5, these Power Four teams as well about their road discipline. Here's the thing though about going on the road. It's not just going on the road. It is crossing multiple time zones. This is the first time Syracuse is leaving, right? The carrier dome. They have been there all 4 weeks so far, and now they go on the road across the country, really testing themselves on kind of on Friday night, right? I think they had a, let's see, they kind of had a bye a couple weeks ago. Yeah, they're still figuring it out. So obviously a lot to break down here, a lot to be excited about for both these teams in the early part here. I like UNLV in this game. I really do. I think that the way that you saw Heisman Williams completely kind of transform that offense and give it a little extra dimension that Sluka didn't really have more so consistently. We saw him make a ton of big time throws when he needed to. But in terms of the down and down efficiency, I do think Heisman Williams ironically kind of gives them a better chance to do so. And we saw that in that Fresno game where he was super efficient. We saw them run the ball well. We saw them obviously stop the run. Yeah, give me UNLV, carry this momentum, continue to build, like you said, a college football playoff resume.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Syracuse could absolutely win this game, but I think traveling across the country, and they're playing against a team, and I know Fran Brown knows this, but they're playing against a team that's a lot better than your standard G5 team right now. Barry Odom
And
has
coach,
these
coaching staff too. Yeah.
the coaching staff, yeah. UNLV, they're buzzing right now, and I don't think that they stop. We're picking this game at 4.5. Yeah, I'll have them win, and I'll lay the 4.5 with them as well. I For all the reasons that you mentioned, Haj Malik Williams, dude, is I know it's just one start, and we'll see. Because Syracuse's defense, while it has been great, I feel like also they've played some better offenses than maybe, you're
Oh, yeah.
through 5 games in the season, right? The sample size is not incredibly big yet for a lot of these teams. Syracuse can still show some stuff defensively, and Elijah Robinson, the defensive coordinator, he's still a little bit unproven. So I don't really know what I'm going to get from Syracuse's defense in this game, but I do know that UNLV is kind of a wagon right now. So yeah, I'll take UNLV and I'll lay the 4.5. I'll ride with you right there. I think that's the right side to be on. And the line's moved. I think it opened at 4.5 or four and moved 4.5. There's some fives out there. Not a best bet for me though, because I still have a lot of question marks about Syracuse that I just don't feel very certain about. And we've only seen one start from Hajj Malik Williams as well. And what's it going to look like when he runs into a defense, that isn't in the bottom 40 in just about every major category, right? So I think that is something to monitor, but I'll be watching this game. This is an 11 a.m. game, right?
There's 8 p.m. on Friday.
Oh, sorry, 8 p.m. Friday. Sorry, it's just the first game on our
That's just a little
time
short week
slate.
for Syracuse across the country there. It is interesting because you mentioned Hajj McWilliams, second start. We talk about this sometimes with backup quarterbacks. Not that he's like a backup quarterback, right? But he kind of was where that first start, a lot of times they do very well because there's no film on them. Like sometimes these defenses don't know what to expect from like a brand new quarterback and how that quarterback is going to fit the system. It's a similar style that Sluka played. But obviously, now the book is out on him. Now Syracuse has some film, and like you said, there's a lot of good defensive minds on that staff to be able to pick apart and figure out how they can stop in this UNLV ground game.
That's a very good point that you make. It's a very good point. Now there's film on him. I think there's still film on him at Campbell. I believe he's Campbell's all-time passing leader, but yeah, just definite food for thought there. Definite food for thought.